I mean, I don't think any of us would want to live in a place where there were no artists. I think we would find that a very dull world. I think of myself as part of the structure that makes it possible for artists to make art here. I'm the executive director of the Linden Sculpture Garden. I was hired right at the beginning of 2010 to open Linden to the public. We've been running it as a laboratory at the intersection of art, nature, and culture. It has this landscape, it's got this sculpture collection, it's got space. One of the programs that grew out of this was Home, which is the work we do with young refugee women and girls.
I wanted to pursue art. I think a lot of immigrants who left their country, going through the process of redefining themselves. I think Poly has been crucial to that for me.
I had been training as a dancer when I was growing up in New York City. By the time I was 14, I was studying with Merce Cunningham. I really settled in Milwaukee more like 1989. I began adjunct teaching at UWM in the history department. And in 1992, I started DanceWorks. Dance was really my first major art engagement and has remained the part of the arts that I feel most attached to in many ways.
Poly has this way about her that's very egalitarian.
The real goal was to try to provide employment for dancers. If you were not a 501c3 organization, if you're an individual artist, it was incredibly hard to get money.
There's that huge distinction between supporting the arts versus actually supporting artists and putting funds into artists' hands.
I direct the Mary Knoll Fellowship for Individual Artists program. It was very intentionally designed to do a couple of things. One was to try to convince artists to stay in Milwaukee. Because at that point, and that must have been 2002 at that time, it seemed like artists were leaving Milwaukee in droves.
Poly's really been championing that from the very beginning.
I also wanted to have a suitcase fund, which was a travel fund for artists and filmmakers to take their work to screenings and exhibitions around the world. Over the course of all these years, there have been, I think, around 120 fellows and well over 400 suitcase grants to people. Over time, I've really developed a lot of ambivalence about things like the Knoll Fellowship, which is a one-time infusion of cash, and been much more interested in the kinds of experiments in guaranteed income that were being carried out with artists during the pandemic. I think artists bring ways of thinking and seeing and doing into the world that are incredibly important to our ability to sustain our feeling that we are human beings. And if you continue to treat artists like third-class citizens and they can find opportunities elsewhere, they will. Or they'll stop making art.
My coworker said, what Poly contributes is vastly greater and disproportional to any expected reciprocation.
My name is Polly Morris, and I'm an arts advocate.